There is a distinct type of person who always catches what others miss. The tiny, microscopic shifts in a facial expression, the buried emotions people desperately try to hide, and the dark psychological patterns no one else sees. They don't just walk into a room. They feel its unspoken tension like a physical weight, easily stripping away social armor within seconds. Most people call this sharp intuition, a rare gift of intelligence. But the truth is much darker. It is a brutal psychological burden, because seeing through everything always comes with a devastating price. You can't just flip a switch and turn off your mind. You can't pretend to be naive just to keep a normal relationship. Constantly swimming in a sea of fake behavior eventually pushes you into total isolation, suffocating doubt, and complete emotional exhaustion. You aren't unstable. You are just carrying the crushing weight of raw realities that nobody else understands. It is an incredibly dangerous line to walk, because this hyper-awareness will either slowly destroy your sanity or turn you into someone truly extraordinary. To understand why your brain operates like this, we have to look past the spiritual cliches. From a neuroscience perspective, this isn't magic. It's high-speed data processing known as thin slicing. But there is an even deeper, more exhausting glitch in your biology, a phenomenon called mirror neuron overload. Think of average human mirror neurons as a clean window. They let people observe someone else's joy or sadness without absorbing it. But in your brain, that window is shattered. You don't just see the insecurity or resentment of others. Your system instantly syncs with it. Your nerves are forced to physically experience the anxiety of the liar standing right in front of you. You are mired in chronic fatigue not because you are overly analytical, but because you are constantly living out the fragmented, toxic inner lives of everyone around you. Think of the average human brain as an audience watching a play. They look at the stage and blindly believe every single line the actors deliver. But your brain works differently. Your subconscious is always staring at the heavy velvet curtain behind the performers. You notice the broken props, the frantic hand of the prompter, the actor's cold, nervous sweat. Your mind is a 24/7 data collection machine, relentlessly scanning for technical errors in human behavior. Human beings communicate through two distinct channels, verbal and nonverbal. While the rest of the world only listens to words, your brain has an instinctual filter, highly attuned to the nonverbal channel. You instinctively catch microexpressions, those raw, unguarded facial movements that flash by in a fraction of a second, revealing the exact vulnerability a person is trying to bury. When a coworker smiles and says, "I'm genuinely happy you got the promotion," your internal compass instantly triggers an alert. You hear the voice pitch rise just half a tone. You notice the smile never actually reaches their eyes. You catch a brief, toxic flicker of jealousy. Data error. The words and the body do not match. This is a lie. This exhausting process happens in a flash, completely automatically. It's like tasting a soup and instantly knowing it's too salty. Your tongue doesn't need to overthink it. It just reports the reality. But the most terrifying part isn't merely detecting the lie. It's seeing the pathetic reason behind it. When your pattern recognition merges with a deep theory of mind, you strip away the cosmetic layers and look directly into the other person's raw insecurity. You look at a boss who is screaming and see a terrified child, desperate not to lose control. You look at a friend who won't stop bragging and see a hollow pit of self-doubt, begging for validation. It sounds like a massive psychological advantage, right? But in reality, this hyperperception traps you in three exhausting psychological nightmares. The first is becoming the accidental villain. In Greek mythology, Cassandra was cursed with the gift of true prophecy. She always saw the impending disaster, but no one would ever believe her warnings. They just called her crazy, negative, and disruptive. If you have these eyes, you are the Cassandra of your social circle. Human society is literally built on polite lies and curated personas. We need them to keep the peace, to keep families together, to get through the workday. Everyone silently signs a contract to participate in the performance, and then you show up, refusing to wear the sunglasses, carrying a massive spotlight and shining it straight into the dark, moldy corners everyone is trying to ignore. Think about dating. You meet someone charming from an app. They are polished, talking about big projects and luxury trips, playing the dream partner perfectly. A normal person gets swept away, but within 15 minutes, your defense grid has already mapped out their entire psychological defense mechanism. You see that the overconfidence is just desperate overcompensation. You notice their eyes constantly darting to check your reaction, proving it's a script, not a connection. When you tell your friends, something about them feels incredibly fake. They look at you like you're paranoid. They tell you that you're too picky, that you're ruining your own happiness, because the crowd only sees the beautiful tip of the iceberg, while you are staring at the jagged ice underneath. With no proof other than your intuition, nobody believes you, and you end up looking like the bad guy in your own story. It gets even worse at work or in friend groups. When you see through people, you accidentally rob them of the chance to play their favorite character. When a coworker constantly plays the victim to win sympathy, everyone rushes to comfort them. But you know they've been missing deadlines and using tears to manipulate public opinion. You don't comfort them. Instead, you drop a cold, realistic comment. Maybe if you managed your time better, the boss wouldn't have snapped. Suddenly, the entire room shifts, and that coworker glares at you with pure, unadulterated hatred. In psychoanalysis, this is called projection and ego defense. When someone's hidden nature is exposed, they experience intense, humiliating shame. And to protect their collapsing ego, their brain strikes back. They won't admit the truth. Instead, they paint you as the villain. They call you cold, arrogant, and manipulative. Truth is expensive. When you see through people, you don't earn respect. You create deep, subconscious fear because you make people feel completely naked. By survival instinct, humans naturally want to destroy the person who holds their secrets. Slowly, you learn a cruel rule. Your clarity makes the world uncomfortable, so you choose silence. You smile, nod, and pretend you don't know. But that silence leaves a massive, freezing void in your soul, driving you into an even darker trap. The second trap is the obsession with reading people, the endless loop of overthinking. When you realize you can't trust what people say, you start trusting only your own cold analysis. This is the exact moment observation stops being a tool and becomes a toxic risk control mechanism, the detective trap. Because you are so used to finding hidden knives behind warm smiles, you begin to assume everything has a hidden motive. Nothing is allowed to be simple anymore. You lose your innocence. A compliment from your partner feels like a setup for a future favor. A spontaneous gift from a lover makes your brain instantly whisper, "What are they feeling guilty about?" A text reply that takes 30 minutes isn't a busy schedule. It's a sign of emotional distance, a loss of priority, the beginning of the end. Your throat goes dry. You trap yourself in a loop of constant hypervigilance. And why? To make sure you never get hurt again. You convince yourself that if you can predict every single betrayal, it won't hurt when it finally happens. Your sensitivity becomes your psychological armor. But this armor is too heavy to carry, and it completely suffocates real emotion. By constantly analyzing, you fall into confirmation bias. If you suspect someone is hiding something, your brain filters out all the good data just to prove your paranoia right. You see your partner's tired eyes after a hard day and instantly think, "They're falling out of love with me." You stop living in the present because you're too busy surviving 10 different worst-case scenarios in the future. You win every mental game. You expose every mask. You never get fooled. But you can never, ever rest. Innocence, unconditional trust, the pure peace of resting your head on someone's chest without a single racing thought. Those become impossible luxuries. You are like someone with hearing so sensitive you can hear the micro cracks in the foundation of a building before it collapses. It keeps you alive, but it ruins the music because every sound is processed as a threat. And the exhaustion doesn't just come from the internal noise. It comes from the heavy burden of unspoken truths. The third trap is becoming an emotional dumping ground, driven by a dark social dynamic, the safe spectator fallacy. There is a terrifying kind of isolation that only people who see everything can truly understand. It's not the loneliness of being physically alone. It's the loneliness of standing in a crowded, laughing room, watching a tragedy unfold in slow motion, and knowing you can't say a single word. People subconsciously recognize that you can see right through them, but instead of fleeing, they lean into it. They turn you into a safe spectator. Not quite a human being to them, but a psychological mirror. They approach you to cower, vent, or drop their heaviest secrets, because they know you won't fight back or disrupt the illusion. They treat you like an invisible piece of furniture in their own grand narrative, utilizing your silence to purge their guilt, only to step right back outside, don a fresh, deceitful mask, and leave you holding their rot. You sit at a close friend's wedding. Everyone is cheering, but you catch the groom's fleeting glance at the bridesmaid, or the bride's forced, anxious smile. You see the collapse of the marriage at the exact moment of celebration. Yet you still have to raise your glass, look them in the eye, and wish them a lifetime of happiness. It feels like knowing the Titanic is going down while standing in the first-class ballroom, watching everyone dance. You can't warn anyone. They'd call you a monster for ruining the moment. Or you watch a kind coworker get systematically drained by a toxic boss. You see the deadness in their eyes, but you know that if you step in with the underlying facts, they will deny it. To survive, they are using denial as a protective shield, and you have no right to rip it away. Holding these heavy secrets slowly drains your life force, creating a quiet, chronic numbness. You feel deep compassion for people who are being deceived, yet a bitter disgust toward the fake theater of the world. Your mind is permanently suspended between intense empathy and cynical skepticism. And the saddest part? Because you are so masterful at reading others, you understand their needs before they even speak. You know exactly how to act to make them feel safe, becoming the ultimate diplomat. But in return, nobody reads you. Nobody knows where you are hurting. Nobody knows what you need. People assume you are too strong, too resilient to ever need protection. The person who heals everyone else becomes a glass wall. You see right through them, but when they look at you, they only see their own reflection. So how do you save a mind that cannot stop seeing the truth? You can't just magically switch off your perception. Forcing yourself to see less is like asking someone with perfect vision to pretend the world is blurry. It's impossible. The goal isn't to become blind. The goal is to change how you react to the things you see. In therapeutic psychology, this transformation requires you to build rigid cognitive boundaries by practicing 3 strict survival principles. The first is strategic ignorance, the art of knowing everything, but choosing to react to nothing. You must clearly separate truth from responsibility. You see a coworker shamelessly sucking up to the boss. That's the reality. But is it your job to fix it? No. Does it touch your daily life? No. Then treat it like a gray cloud passing in the sky. You see it, but you don't need to fly up there to push it away. Let go of the ego that feels obligated to play the savior of truth. Your insight is a tool for your own safety. It helps you make better choices, like deciding who not to trust. It is not a weapon meant to clean up the world. The second principle is shifting your perspective to accept social masks through the lens of psychological empathy. The suffering of perceptive people usually comes from demanding flawless, raw authenticity from a world that isn't ready for it. Look closer. Why do people wear masks? It's rarely to maliciously deceive you. Most people wear masks to hide deep wounds, crippling insecurity, and the terrifying fear of not being accepted. That loud, arrogant guy at the dinner table is really just a boy begging to be noticed. The friend who seems cold and detached is actually trembling inside, terrified of being abandoned again. Sometimes, a polite lie is the only thing keeping a person's entire fragile world from shattering into pieces. Once you realize this, the disgust you feel toward fake behavior begins to melt away, replaced by a quiet, radical acceptance. You see the mask, but instead of ripping it off, you simply smile and let them feel safe behind it. The highest form of psychological understanding isn't exposing someone's weakness. It's seeing it clearly and still choosing to leave their dignity intact. The final, most empowering principle is mastering tactical naivety, turning what used to be a silent surrender into an active, weaponized art form. Do not just stand there as an exhausted lighthouse weathering the storm. Learn to play the game. When your analytical filter signals that a partner or friend is attempting a small manipulation, do not panic and do not call them out. Instead, adopt a calculated shield of innocence. Let them believe they have successfully hidden their cards. By allowing them to perform their script in a controlled space, you quietly seize total control of the narrative. You aren't being fooled. You are simply observing their strategy from a safe, untouchable distance while keeping your own emotional currency hidden away. This tactical blindness grants your hyperactive mind a chance to rest, transforming your paralyzing sensitivity into an elite strategic edge. You can still see every sharp thorn on the rose, but you choose exactly when to touch it and when to just enjoy the view. When you learn to surrender the need to constantly expose the world, something beautiful happens. Your perception doesn't disappear. It evolves into true wisdom. You are no longer a cold, X-ray machine exposing every hidden fracture. You become a quiet, invincible force. You see the hidden rocks. You see the dangerous currents. But instead of panicking, you calmly guide your own ship through the dark. This awareness is a heavy, brutal gift, but it can be the most profound one you possess if you finally learn how to master it.